Today's sermon is from the Fundamentals of Unicult. It is the chapter on ultimate reality. So we will just flip to that page and I will just read it to you because it's very short. Oh, I was going to tell you all that I quit Instagram. I didn't quit Instagram. I uninstalled Instagram. And so I'm able to access it occasionally, but I feel like it's a toxic platform that's bad for me. And so I'm trying to see what my life is like without it. If you really like my Instagram content, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to have the content that I like to put on Instagram somewhere else, because I'm tired of just posting selfies and I just don't like the hive mind mentality on Instagram, and it's just an exhausting environment for me. So maybe I'll start a blog. Would you guys read my blog? Today's sermon is on ultimate reality. It comes from Fundamentals of Unicult. And the chapter on ultimate reality says this. Ultimate reality is every single perspective across time, just checking. Okay. Ultimate reality is every single perspective across time, experienced by the same consciousness all at once. Ultimate reality is the collection of conscious data understood not just from the highest perspective, but from the lowest one too. It is every experience from everything across all of time. This perhaps is the experience of God. It is also perhaps something that you could experience if you wanted to. Ultimate reality used to be my ideal afterlife. I've always enjoyed learning new information and experiencing what I could of other perspectives. But sometimes this knowledge, when it is strong, can be very humbling and painful. I have come to understand that experiencing ultimate reality would completely obliterate any sense of self that you have. It would also be excruciatingly painful and orgasmically rewarding at the same time. So what is ultimate reality? Ultimate reality, we were talking last week about consciousness. We were talking about the idea that all things are conscious. Boy, did I have somebody mansplaining me in the comments section yesterday. He wrote this long comment telling me why I was wrong, and didn't make any sense. Anyway, I was like, what a useless comment, but it's okay. People just sometimes have to type out their thoughts, and I just happen to be the recipient of it. No worries, okay? We're here to all learn and grow. Obviously, my internet experience lately has been grating on me and a little bit overwhelming, so I have been taking a little bit more time to be alive in my physical body and less time online. So when I'm complaining, it's just because I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so we are talking about ultimate reality. We talked last week about consciousness. We talked about how each thing is a certain set of data, is a certain point of data that consciousness could theoretically enter into and observe the universe. The bottom inside of my coffee cup, if I could take my consciousness and put it into there, I would know what it would feel like to be covered in coffee as the bottom of a mug. All points of data in our reality have the potential for consciousness to enter into and embody. Consciousness is the awareness of experience, the awareness of the data that is being generated. Every point of data in the universe is generating information, is generating data, is experiencing data. Whether or not it is conscious of that data is another question. So I believe personally that God, I don't think of God, and please understand that these concepts that I'm talking about right now, there are certain ways that we can think about the world. There are certain things that undeniably make sense. For me to say that each point in space and time is a point of information which has the ability to gather data, that's undeniably true, right? Because you can imagine that each point in space-time is experiencing different things than any other point in space-time. That is just a logical observation. When I talk about God and I talk about my idea of something higher, this starts to enter into the territory that I cannot speak confidently of. My relationship with something higher is what it is because that is the way that benefits me the most. Sometimes I slip into relating to something higher in a way that is sardonic and cynical, which does not benefit me, but it appears to be rational. I feel like God or the universe or whatever is toying with me. I feel like they're withholding information from me to torture me. Those kind of ideas do not benefit me. And so when I express things like God's bitch, that's my attempt at taking that sardonic, cynical energy and spinning it in a way that puts me again in the service to something higher, which I know to be more beneficial for my life. So when I talk about these things, I'm talking about manipulation of my own consciousness to understand reality, to build a paradigm that is beneficial to me. I share my ideas for you to think about your paradigm. Is it benefiting you? Is it not benefiting you? And getting to the point where your own spirit radiates a higher level of joy. Your joy is determined by your paradigm, by your expectations of reality, by how you see the world. So if you are in a high vibrational reality because of the beliefs that you have, that's good for everyone. That keeps you healthy, that keeps you motivated, that makes your experience better, that makes your life better, that makes people around you happier. That's the goal. So when we enter into these theoretical realms of thought exploration, we do so with the goal of raising our own consciousness, of raising our own vibration to one that is beneficial to us. These are things we cannot prove or not prove to be true. There's this very difficult stuff. And maybe you like to think about it, maybe you don't, maybe it makes you feel overwhelmed, maybe it makes you feel happy. Follow your own joy. Only you know what makes you happy. If something makes me happy, a theoretical idea, that doesn't necessarily mean it makes you happy. So when we're talking about ultimate reality, and I start to use words like God, when I think of God, I think of that from which all things come. And I mean that in the sense that it is a part of all things. When I think of ultimate reality, I imagine one singular consciousness being able to experience every single thing that exists in the whole universe all at once and comprehend it. We are very limited in our comprehension. We can only experience our one world, and it's even kind of difficult for us to empathize with other people. And this is why I think ultimate reality, I used to think ultimate reality would be great because I have such a strong thirst for knowledge. I want to go out and I want to explore what things mean and what things are. But when you have two opposing ideas and you learn empathy, usually how do you learn empathy? We talk about this a lot. Usually empathy comes with pain. Usually you experience some form of suffering or pain, and it gives you the knowledge of what it's like to go through a specific hard thing. And then when you have that knowledge of having gone through that specific hard thing, you can then apply it to a larger range of things. You know, if you trip and fall, you say, oh, that hurt. If you see someone fall on their bike, maybe you didn't fall on your bike, maybe you only tripped and fell, but you can empathize, oh, that must have hurt. That's a very basic example, but our understanding of empathy usually comes from pain. So when we think about how big of a concept the understanding of everything is, and to empathize and sympathize to the point of true understanding is very painful. If you're two people looking at the same piece of paper and one side is, let's say this side is black and this side is white, and two people are looking at it from opposite sides, and one person says it's black and one person says it's white, and if you can incorporate the understanding of both of those sides, you grow as a person. You grow and you say, wow, to this person it's black and to this person it's white. I can see that it's both. To hold that understanding of unity consciousness in your mind is the goal on earth. For you to get to the point where you can let go of duality, you can let go of this understanding of My singular experience is the same experience. Everyone has to agree with me. The more you can let go of that, the more you can find unconditional love for every person and every person's perspective, the better off you will be and the better off the planet will be, because we're going to be entering into Unitopia when we are able to enter into unity consciousness. We cannot expect to build a utopian paradise without incorporating every single person's perspective. And how can you incorporate every single person's perspective? You have to spiritually enlighten every single person. You have to get to the point where everybody respects everybody else. That's our work with ultimate reality in a practical sense on Earth, is to enter into unity consciousness and to understand that different perspectives have different realities. We're learning right now with the news media what is truth. We see the news media telling one version of the truth. We see TikTok videos telling another version of the truth. We have our own experience of the truth. We have our own expectation of reality, which we believe is true. And we're seeing that there are infinite truths. There's something that happened. If there's an action, there's something that happened. But every person's emotional reality has a different response, has a different reality, has a different perspective of that truth. And each of those perspectives are true. Each of those perspectives are true in the emotional sense, and emotional reality is legitimate. We disparage emotional reality. We say that it's, facts over feelings, and we try to say that only the physical reality matters, but that's not true. We are interdimensional emotional beings, and we experience a plethora of realities inside of ourselves. And just because we ignore them doesn't mean they're not happening. The more we can honor and respect the infinite realities inside of our consciousness, otherwise known as emotional reality, otherwise known as emotions, the more we will understand the true nature of truth, which is that there are infinite truths based on each of our perspectives, and that we can, theoretically, with unconditional love, harmonize our emotional reality inside of ourselves and our complex emotional reality with each other. This is the microcosm of ultimate reality. We usually talk about things in the microcosm sense and the macrocosm sense. The microcosm of ultimate reality is a planetary-based Unitopian unity consciousness. That's a big thing, but it is the microcosm because ultimate reality is fucking huge. Ultimate reality is every single perspective. Imagine if you could just take every single perspective of your family, and you could figure out, you lived for just your immediate family. Maybe your mom, your dad, your siblings, whatever, your immediate family. If you could live their whole life, start to finish, experience all their experiences, and interact with one another and understand all sides of every conversation, all sides of every disagreement, imagine what you would feel. Imagine what you would know. Imagine how much that would shift your perspective, and imagine how much you would be a different person. Our limitations in this life define us. We think of ourselves as who we are based on our experiences and how they've shaped us, at least partially. So when you take even just a small group of people like a family, and you experience their whole life, birth to death, and you experience every conversation that those people have had together, every experience, every thought, then you start to disintegrate as an individual. You don't have those boundaries as much. You start to understand and empathize from such a high level perspective that you no longer have your anger and your fear and your lower level, we call them lower level emotions, which are not beneficial to you. You have unconditional love, patience, and understanding. Imagine that on a planetary level, and now imagine that on a universal level. And from that perspective, we are humbled, right? Because the amount of information that would saturate that one consciousness would be so much that they would have no choice but to be ultimately loving, unconditionally caring, and sympathetic, truly sympathetic with every single potential reality. Ultimate reality is probably not something that many consciousnesses can experience. The way that I see it is that that is the pinnacle of source energy. I feel like there is source energy, which is a big sun in the universe, and all things radiate around it. And the further away you get from that light, you're still conscious. You still are connected to it. It is consciousness. But there's just a concentration of consciousness to this point of infinite knowing. And that point of infinite knowing is a point of it's a point of no return. Because once you're there, you're everything. You're nothing. You're everything. You're nothing. It's the same thing. You disintegrate into everything. So how can this concept of ultimate reality help you in your life? You can start just by having empathy for your own selves. Is there a part of you that wants to lay in bed and is lazy and doesn't want to do anything and makes a mess and doesn't want to work out and doesn't want to eat healthy and wants to watch TV? And how do you feel about that person? How do you feel about that part of yourself? Is there another part of yourself who's so angry all the time that you're not getting your act together and that you wish that you could do better and you could be more, and you're just so mad at yourself for, and you disparage yourself? There's a lot of terrible things we say to ourselves. How do you love that person? If you can experience yourself as a multitude of perspectives, as a multitude of emotional responses to the world and paradigms shaped by those emotional responses, and you can see the battle between yourselves inside your own consciousness, and you can unify those, that is the most powerful work you can do to approach ultimate reality. Because that is the closest thing to your own consciousness. That is the most potent aspect of yourself. Is this person on mushrooms? What is going on in the comment section? Okay, so that is ultimate reality, and I hope that you are able to think about these things and change your relationship to something higher. These are ideas for you to explore, again, to find out what makes you truly happy. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? What do you feel connected to? My understanding of God is not a compassionate entity that specifically thinks about me and worries about my life. But I do have aliens and angels who do that in my reality. You get to have whatever relationship you want to something higher. Just because I don't see God that way doesn't mean that you can't. What I want for you is to find a relationship to something higher that benefits you the most, so that you can feel the most fulfilled, so that you can feel the most joy, so that your vibration can be high, so you can be empowered and happy and creative every day, so that you can radiate out a positive energy which changes the world, which makes my life better. If the world is a higher vibration, I am better. If you are at a high vibration, I feel good. That's what I want. That's my motivation. That's my goal, is to make this toxic cesspool of Earth better. Because we all have to breathe this air. We all are swimming in this energy, whether or not we feel it or not. I'm particularly sensitive. So my motivation is to increase the quality of the energetic air around me, so that when I'm going about my day-to-day life, it hurts less. I have a selfish motivation here. And that's what's so cool about Unicult ideas, is that we can come from it from a selfish perspective, from wanting our own lives to be bettered. And we can understand how when your life is better, my life is better. so we actually can help each other so that our own experience can be better, our own lives can be better. And when we all work together to help each other so that our vibration is all collectively higher through unconditional love, through understanding each other's experiences, through empathy, we will enter into Unitopia. Join me in Unitopia by changing your own consciousness into radical self-acceptance, radical harmonization, and radical activated love. Uni bless.